الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. This week, inshallah ta'ala, we'll start Faslun fi Ahkam al-Imama. Is the chapter dealing with Imama. Who can lead the Salat? Who can lead the Salat? If you remember last week, we were talking about Salatul Jama'ah, Salat in congregation. Before we start, this brother had a question. Real quick, even before we answer that question, last week we mentioned the issue إذا استأذنت المرأة إلى المسجد كره منعها. Last week there was a mas'ala, there's an issue. Just a quick recap, we're covering the book Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni from the fiqh of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala. One of the things that we covered last week was about a woman, if a woman, for example, your wife, your daughter, etc., if they wanted to go to the masjid, that you do not prevent the women from going to the masajid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, وَبَيْتُهَا خَيْرٌ لَهَا. However, her home is better for her. There's a caveat that I left out that I didn't mention. There's a piece that I left out that I didn't mention. As many of the scholars of the past, they mention that غَيْرُ طَيْبٍ وَلَا زِينَةٍ. Yani, in our society, a woman generally here, where we come from, they may leave the house with makeup on, fragrances, and so on and so forth. This is from beautification, and this is something that is prohibited for a woman to leave the home, especially going to the masajid like this. And so that was something that was mentioned that I didn't mention last week. I should have mentioned it then, but I'll mention it now, inshallah ta'ala. Like, you had a question from last week, Sheikh?
No. Last week, when Jamar mentioned coming in late on the Salat, let's say, for instance, we're praying Salat al-Isha, and he missed the first rak'ah, but he joins the ranks, and then as we're going in, he mentioned at the time, making up the first one. He was like, lad, you don't make it up, you just one behind us. Is actually, as we're on our second, he's on his first, and to the end of it, as you would say, right? So from that point, does he finish in the ranks along with the rest of us as we are, or does he pray as if he's, like if we're on our second and we're going to Tashahhud, does he continue like in his first, like as if he's on his first, or does he finish with us and then continue as we finish?
When you say finishes with us, what does that mean? What does that look like?
Like I said, for instance, if we're on our second rak'ah, it's actually his first. So as we
let's say he joined the rank while you were in your second rak'ah.
Right.
And it was his first.
Right.
All right, on what you said.
So we're going to Tashahhud.
The first Tashahhud or the last Tashahhud?
The first.
Okay.
Does he
make Tashahhud? Yes. He makes Tashahhud with the Imam. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, for indeed the Imam was put in place to be followed. Right? So when he's making his Tashahhud, he's actually making Tashahhud with the Imam. He's just following the Imam. It's not permissible for him to go outside of that. Now, towards the end of the Salat, when everyone makes their Tashahhud al-Akhir, their last Tashahhud, he's going to stand and make his last rak'ah. Right?
So and then he's not going to make the last Tashahhud. He
has to. He's going to be making it twice. He's going to be following the Imam in their Tashahhud, and then he's going to make it again towards the end. So yani for his last rak'ah. Okay?
So he'll actually make three?
He'll be making three. No. Like, so that was that with regards to that issue. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll start our reading for tonight from Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni. Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, the bab was a chapter, it's called Faslun fi Ahkam al-Imama. It's a chapter dealing with who can lead the prayer. Now I'm sure there are many people with many different opinions, and even in this chapter in particular, there are a lot of different positions from the scholars of the past with regards to who leads the Salat and who doesn't. Someone mentioned to me not too long ago, they said, well, you know, you don't really give your opinion. You don't really give your opinion about, what you believe is correct. No one wants to know my opinion. And unless to be ahlan. I'm not from those who are qualified to have an opinion in some of these issues. All right? So we have to understand in Islam, there are things that we can talk about, have opinions on, obviously, right? But then there are things that you can't. Unless you reached a certain level to distinguish between this and that. For example, someone may say, well, you hold this position and I hold that position. Cool. If you hold that position, what are you basing your position on? Are you based on how you feel? Right? Because a lot of times people may base their opinion in Islam or rulings in a religion on their personal feelings. I don't like that, so I believe it's wrong. Our religion is not set up like that. Some other religions are, you follow your heart, whatever your heart tells you to do. Islam is not like that. Islam has rules and regulations. This is what separates our religion from other religions. This is what separates our religion from other religions. So the Shaykh Rahimahullah Ta'ala, he says, Al-Ula bil-imamati al-aqra'u. So he said the first person who has a right to lead the congregational prayer, al-aqra'u. Al-aqra'u is the one who recites the best. And we're not talking about reciting the best in terms of sound, la. In terms of understanding the rules of recitation. Understanding the rules of recitation. So, aqra'uhum, meaning the one that recites the best, this person may only know Juz Amma, for example. But his recitation is far more superior than anyone else's. And when we say recitation far more superior, meaning he has less mistakes. He understands ahkam al-tajweed, how to recite and read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then he says, Al-Ula bil-imamati al-aqra'u al-alam fiqhu salatihi. Al-aqra'u al-alamu fiqh salatihi. Yani the one who is more read, he reads the best and he understands the fiqh of the salat. And that's another thing. A person can't, just because you know the Quran, you may not know what to do in the salat if you make a mistake. Someone may forget, you may forget something. You lead the salat, how do you fix it? Right? So a person must also, if you lead the salat, you must be able to recite the Quran and be afqahu, yani understand the fiqh of the salat. How to pray, what to do when mistakes happen, how to make it better. Thumma, and then after that, suppose we have two people, and so when the ulama, when they write these types of books like this, they usually give you, okay, this is the ideal person for this situation. Like, what if we have two people with the same characteristics? They're the same. Meaning, in terms of recitation of the Quran, they're the same. Their understanding of the salat, they're the same. Like, who do you put forward after that? And this is important because in our masajid here, anyone leads the salat. Lil asaf. Anyone will stand up and lead the salat, and sometimes, we're going to talk about that too. Proper recitation of certain surahs of the Quran and like that. So it says, thumma al-afqahu, and the one that, so now we have two people that are the same. If they're the same, then the next thing you look at to distinguish between the two is who has more knowledge of the religion. Well, who has more knowledge of the religion? So it could be that a brother has more knowledge of the religion than most people, but his recitation of the Quran is not better than Fulan. And Fulan understands the rules of the Quran better than this person. You see how that works? So in this case, they will put forward this one who understands the Quran better and recites better with the rules of tajweed. Obviously, he understands the fiqh of the salat over the one that is more learned in some cases. Is that understood? Right. So then, thumma al-asan. So now they're both equal in terms of their fiqh of the religion. In terms of their fiqh of the religion, they're equal. Quran, fiqh of the deen. The next step is what? The next step is thumma al-asan. In other words, thumma the older from among them. Now, According to the school of Imam Ahmed, they differ on this issue. Some say because the one that is older, and the next one they say, Al-Aqdamu Hijratan, meaning the oldest from among them to accept Islam. That's if they're equal. If all things are equal, how do I distinguish between the both of you? Which one of you guys accepted Islam first? Walde?
Yeah.
Who's the oldest in Islam?
A lot of times we thought that when you say the oldest, you're thinking about age.
The oldest. Well, that's a position, so they differ.
Oldest is different.
Some consider the older from among them. And then what if they're the same age? If they're the same age, then who's the oldest in Islam? And some of them put the oldest in Islam over the age. Well, is that clear? So it fluctuates between the two. Right. Then they say, Thumma al-Ashrafu. Then the one that comes from the best lineage. Where we come from in America, Lil Asif, that's not something we brag about because, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know their lineage. Lil Asif, this is something that's not a good thing, it's a bad thing, but this is reality, right? A lot of people don't know their lineage. So you can't be brave, you say, yeah, I come from X, Y, Z. But in the lands of the Arab, that's something that yaftakhiru bi, it's something that they're proud of. I come from fulan, so on and so forth. That's a whole nother topic we'll talk about later, inshallah, because that's a real important issue that needs to be discussed. But especially in our community. And that's why we have a lot of problems now, because people don't know where they come from. And so because of that, you got young men falling into all types of problems because they don't know where they come from. So they have nothing to say, okay, I'm proud of my father, I'm proud of my grandfather, so on and so forth. Those are real issues in our communities that can't be overlooked. Thumma al-Aqdamu Hijratan. So some of them, they switch, like the one that's older in Islam and so on and so forth. Sometimes they separate that. And the next one, Thumma al-Atqa. Thumma al-Atqa. And then the one who fears Allah the most. So, assuming that everyone is on the same time. Assuming everyone is on the same time in terms of their understanding of religion and all these different levels. The very last level they come to is what? Thumma al-Atqa. Then the one who fears Allah the most. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. Allah says the most honorable from among us with Allah is the one who fears Him the most. So after we get past that, the next issue, let's assume that everyone says they both fear Allah the same. Everything is equal. We have two brothers. They want them to lead the Salat and do all of this and that, and everyone says they're equal in all of those issues. The very last thing that they'll look at is something called a Qur'an. Have you ever heard of a Qur'an? No. Does anyone know what that is? They'll have to pick. Let's say, for example, we put their names in a hat, and you pick their name out the hat. During the time of the Prophet, they would use sticks, right? But I mean, the same concept, names in a hat, rip up the paper, boom, we pull his name out the hat, we'll use him. The concept is the same. The concept is the same. So the next one now is we're going to talk about houses. Let's say, for example, you can't make it to the masjid. Let's say, for example, when can a person leave off the Salat in Jama'ah? There's a whole other chapter that talks about that. Yeah, but we'll talk about something that most people know, is that when food is being served, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, don't go pray while the food is being served. So there may be times when food is being, let's say, for example, a brother invited everyone over to his house for dinner. The food is served on the table. The adhan is being called to go pray. They say, okay, we're going to delay the Salat to eat. Now we're forced to pray Jama'ah in his house. Who leads the Salat now? Wasakinul Bayt. Who leads the Salat in his house? This is a question. The owner of the house. Sahib al-Bayt. The owner of the house is the one who leads the Salat in his own house. when would there be a chance where a person that is house, but someone else has to lead the salat in his house?
He doesn't know his full.
Or has more of a right to lead the salat in his house? Think about that. Who would have more of a right to lead the salat in a man's house other than himself?
His father.
Is it
The man was at his house?
like
His son. The oldest son.
not have more rights?
So listen, the person whose house it is has more of a right to lead the salat, right? Obviously, if there's an imam of a masjid there, he allows him to lead. But the one who has more of a right to lead the salat over them will be the sultan. They call this person al-imam al-a'zam. We don't have that in our societies or in our communities. Imam al-a'zam would be considered a ruler, right? Will be considered a religious ruler. And we're not talking about imams of masajid. Let's assume if this was like a Muslim country, then he happens to be in his house, he has more of a right to lead the salat in that man's house. Well, however, that's something that is not, in our time today, that's something that's not practical. That's something that most people, especially where we live in our country, that's something that's not practical. Like, any questions?
Can you repeat that name again?
Which name?
The person that has more.
The sultan, the leader. Like, وَحُرٌّ وَحَادِرٌ. Like, right now, we're going to also talk about some of the people that are also put forth to lead the salat compared to other than them. So, for example, if there's a slave and a free person who has more of a right to lead the salat, it would have been a free person. Now, mind you, these issues are not relevant or, well, not that they're not relevant, but they're not relatable to our circumstance today. All right? So a person may not understand those different masail. Like, al-hadirun, a person that is hadir, is more of a right to lead the salat over a person that is a Badawi, as they will call them. So, for example, where do they get this from? These are issues that the scholars of the past discuss among themselves. You can find them in a lot of the classical books. The Muslim that is more learned generally will be put forward to lead the prayer over a person that is less learned, the person that may be from the Badawi. The Badawi is a person that lives out in the desert, if you will, right? The next one, وَمُقِيمٌ مُقَدَّمْ عَلَى مُسَافِرٍ. A person that is present, meaning we're not traveling. If we're in the masjid, if we have a brother that's traveling and a brother that lives in that particular town, who has more of a right to lead the salat?
From that town.
Huh? The one that lives there. The one that lives there has more right to lead the salat over the one that is traveling. It doesn't mean that the one that's traveling can't lead the salat. We're talking about the one that has more of a right to. And obviously this is according to the school of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Right? So you may have read something, oh, wait a minute, go ahead, follow.
I got a question about, like, okay, say your traveler was coming and he was shortening the city. He had to shorten the salat. And he was leading. So we just keep on praying, am I correct?
Right, Mumtaz. So let's say, for example, a brother is leading the salat and he's traveling. Right? It is recommended for that brother, before he starts the prayer, that he turns around and let the people know, I'm going to be shortening my salat because I'm traveling. Because we have a lot of Muslims that don't know. People, he might lead the salat, pray 2 rak'ah, and give the salams, and then everyone in the jama'ah will follow. So in a case like that, if you have an imam that's traveling, and he prays in the salat, let's say he's praying salat al-dhuhr, and he's only praying 2 rak'ahs for salat al-dhuhr. So once he makes taslim, and it's for those who are muqim, meaning those who are, this is their home, they're not traveling, then they are to stand up and complete the 2 additional rak'ahs. They are to stand up and complete the 2 additional rak'ahs. Now,
they still taslim with him too.
They don't make taslim with him. Anytime you're late in the salat and you're masbuq, meaning the imam is in front of you, and he makes taslim, and you still have a rak'ah or two rak'ahs to do, you don't make taslim with him. You stand up and complete your salat.
So is everybody individually finishing on their own? It's not.
Yes.
It's not a congregation.
Yes, it's not a congregation anymore. This is why it's better for the one that is muqim, the one that is not traveling, to lead the salat as opposed to the one that is traveling. Right? The next one, they say, wa basirun. And these issues, like the next issue, wa basir, yani a person that can see is better for a person that can see to lead the salat over a person that is blind. What's the fiqh behind it? There's a lot of kalam, a lot of speech from the earlier scholars with regards to that issue. A person that is makhtoon, a person that is circumcised, has more of a right to lead the salat over one who is not circumcised. And these are issues that we find that the scholars of the past talked about. The next one, وَمَنْ لَهُ ثِيَابٌ. Now, here's another issue. The scholars, they mention issues that may not, in your mind, you might think, that doesn't make sense. But they'll mention all of the issues they can think of just so we can understand the issue of the importance of leading the salah. So, for example, let's say, for example, you're in a place, 3 brothers. For whatever reason, somebody lost all their clothes. 2 people lost all their clothes. They give scenarios just like that. One person has their clothes with them, the other 2 have no clothes with them. Who leads the salah?
That's
the one with the clothes. You understand? The one with the clothes leads the salah in a situation like that. So all these people are better to lead than others. It doesn't mean that if you're from the other category, it's haram for you to lead the salah. We're talking about right now who's better to lead the salah. Okay? Well, there's a difference between what's better and what's haram. We're not talking about it's haram for these people to lead. It's better. No.
Losing clothes, what do you mean?
Let's say, for example, think of a scenario. Somebody probably could come up with a scenario. Stuff for the law. In this city, people get robbed. Let's say somebody robbed them for all his clothes. And you just standing there, it's time for the salat, they walk around, they don't know what to do, but the salat is in. They not thinking like that, I'm not worried about the salat, let me go get my clothes. They know they got to pray, they're going to miss the salat. You're the only one with your thobe on. The other brother, he knows more Quran than you, understands. But right now, you got a thobe on. He has, when we say thobe here, we're talking about garments, not necessarily a thobe that everyone wears, not a thobe like this. We're talking about clothing. He has clothing on that obviously covers his odor. He has clothing on that covers his odor, and the other ones do not. Who leads the salah?
They can still pray like that without
if they don't, shuf. Covering the odor is obligatory. Right now, we're talking about a situation where they don't have it and the salat is about to go out. What do? You don't pray?
You have to go find some clothes, right?
What if you can't find no clothes? What if you're going to look for clothes and by the time you find clothes, the salat's going to be out? What do you do?
So the prayer will still be valid?
Yes. In a case like that, yes. La shak. No doubt. La ikraha fi deen. The deen is easy. Right? And when there are things and there's a qaida, there's a principle in Islam. الضرورات تبيح محظورات بقدرها. Yani things that are impermissible can become allowable in situations out of necessity. This is a principle in Islam. All right? And in a case like that, that would be when that principle would become applicable. All right? It's not saying you just go outside and, I'm just going to pray. No. We're talking about, circumstances that are not common, rare circumstances. Because it happens. It happens. You never know when it...
I guess, over there, especially, or like in the desert or something.
Let's say somebody's locked up. They put him in the hole and they took all his clothes from him. Yeah. And it's to him and his cellie, and they both in the hole. One of them got clothes, and the other one took all his clothes. Now who's gonna lead the salah? Huh? You understand what I'm saying? Fine. All right. The next one. Now they're going to mention some situations where the salat behind this particular person may not be correct. So it says, وَلَا تَصِحُّ خَلْفَ فَاسِقٍ. لَا تَصِحُّ خَلْفَ فَاسِقٍ. So the next one, it says the salat behind a fasiq, meaning an openly sinful person, is not correct. It's not correct. Now, according to the school of Imam Ahmed, there's a difference of opinion on that. So when they say a person is a fasiq, or considered to be an open sinner, they have two situations. There are two scenarios. One scenario is that that sinful person is sinful in his belief, meaning he has a belief system that is in opposition to Ahlul Sunnah. Perhaps his belief system is that of bid'ah, or innovation in the religion. So when it comes to a person like that, the scholars of Al-Islam, yandur, they look at his how, they look at his situation. Is this person calling to that particular innovation? If he's calling to that particular innovation, then you don't pray with him. If that person has this type of bid'ah with him, but he's not calling to it, then it's permissible to pray behind him. They give you detail. The same thing, the next category is that if a person is sinful, meaning zina and stuff like that, lying, stealing, and is open, then that's also another situation. The scholars of Al-Islam, particularly the Salaf, the scholars of the past, in general, some of them say you can pray behind a fasiq, some of them say that you cannot. According to this book here, which we're not going to get into a lot of tafsir, a lot of detail here, but they say that praying behind an openly sinful person is not correct. Now,
given the current state in this city, now this has to be proven, right? They have to have some dalil behind this, and
what has to be proven?
As far as
a person being openly sinful?
Or as far as a
look
person
on Facebook. Look on Instagram. Upon bid'ah.
Yeah, because I mean, that's thrown around.
Ya akhi kareem. When it comes to bid'ah, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know what bid'ah is. It's unfortunate. But we live in a town where lay people, awam, common people, they talk more about bid'ah and they don't even know how to pray. They don't even know how to worship Allah. They don't even know who Allah is or His Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. But they talk about innovation. They don't even know what innovation is. The problem in our town is people got caught up into passing on whatever someone else says. He saw he's an innovator, class, he's an innovator. You might be an innovator, you don't even know. And one of the things about our deen, a person can't be an innovator, a person can't fall into bid'ah unless you can identify what that bid'ah is. What is the bid'ah? There's no such thing as boogeyman bid'ah. He's an innovator. What's the innovation? I don't know. Actually, the brother said it. You go ask the brother, what's his innovation? I don't know. The other brother said it. Now you're going in a circle. But everyone's following behind somebody else. He said it, so it must be true. He studied overseas. Nobody asked what he studied, though. Nobody asked him, bro, what did you study overseas? That's call a spade a spade. What did you study again? Nobody asked those questions. Now, fuck them.
So, person that's when you know that this person is an open sinner, that person, you shouldn't leave the salat, right? All right.
This according to the text is Zaad Al-Mustaq'ni.
Can you give me an explanation again when you were saying the salat behind an open, sinful person? And I think you touched on, like, can you go back to the beginning of that part? I don't know, I didn't get it.
What do you mean you didn't get it?
You were saying, all right, you were saying, like, if he's not calling to his bid'ah, I mean,
yes.
Yeah, can you, so I didn't get the note.
So, all right, so when it comes to bid'ah, because we're talking about praying behind a fasiq, praying behind an openly sinful person. The scholars of the past, they break it down into two categories. You have bid'ah, you have sunnah, you have a person that's a fasiq, they're sinful in their i'tiqad, meaning they're sinful in their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That belief that they have is a bid'ah, or is an innovation. What makes it an innovation? It went against the Quran and the Sunnah ijma' of the Salaf, the consensus of the scholars of the past. Meaning, There's no such thing as a bid'ah that no one knows that it's a bid'ah. There's no such thing. If it's a bid'ah, then it's clear that it's a bid'ah in opposition of, and you can point it out. This particular act that they're doing is an innovation based on what we find in speech of the scholars of the past. And this is the ayah, this is the hadith, and this is the consensus of the scholars of the past. It's clear. There's no ambiguity when it comes to those things. Well, the problem is people don't stay in their lane. The next part, when it comes to people calling to them. So the Salaf, and you can find this in a book called Al-Mustaq'ni from Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi, rahimahullah ta'ala. In this book, they break it down in two categories. They say in the category of disbelief, or a person their belief has issues, in their belief they have bid'ah with them. They say if the person is calling to that bid'ah, meaning come follow this innovative practice of worship, because understand bid'ah is a new form of worship of Allah that wasn't done before. It doesn't mean you don't go to my masjid. It doesn't mean that. It means that there's a new form of worship that person introduced and he wants to call you to follow in that. Right? In that case, they say don't pray behind this person. This is detailed. This is a detailed explanation of it. And then it goes even deeper than that, but that'll be a whole class. That's a whole class. This is just one small aspect of it. So the next part, he says, وَلَا تَصِحُّ خَلْفَ فَاسِقٍ كَكَافِرٍ. It's not correct to pray behind a fasiq as if he's a kafir, as if he's a disbeliever. And so, when you look at it, they say, well, who are they talking about? So some of them say the Murji'ah. They don't pray behind the Murji'ah. Does anyone know what the Murji'ah are? Have anyone ever heard of the Murji'ah?
The Murji'ah, if I'm not mistaken, they basically believe that it's not much that takes you out of the fold of Islam.
I said, so the Murji'ah, they're opposite from the Khawarij. The Khawarij are those who kafirun al-Muslimin bid-dhunub. If a person commits sins, he's a kafir. He's a kafir. He's a disbeliever. The Murji'ah, they say, no one's a disbeliever. No one commits sins. Right? So with the Murji'ah, their belief is predicated on what? Does anyone know?
Basically, it would be like those that say, Allah knows my heart. Or
So the Murji'ah, their belief system is that no matter what you do, your iman stays the same. It doesn't increase or decrease. So you might find some people, they go around committing sins all day. You know what? I'm still good with Allah. I'm still on the hawk. I can do whatever I want. I can fornicate. I can steal, rob, be a home invader, invade people's homes, steal from you, but I'm on the hawk. These are characteristics. Characteristics. I'm not saying that the person that does that, everyone's we gotta be called. No, it's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying because you commit sins, you're that. It's not what it means. However, the characteristics of the Murji'ah is that they're easy with regards to committing sins. Sins are easy. It's not my speech. Anyone wants to follow that up? Sheikh Fawzan, he has a book talking about the Murji'ah. And then it is his exact speech. The Murji'ah, they're easy with regards to sins. Easy. They're easy going with regards to little sins. And so the thing of our society and our community and our city, the last thing we need is people to become easy on sins. That's the last thing we need. Oh, I can do that? Oh, cool. There was once upon a time when people were hard on sins. Brother, we can't do that. Now it's like everything goes. Oh, there's no problem. As long as you're on the hawk. As long as you say you're on the hawk, you're cool. It's almost like going to church on Sunday. Well, I'm saved. Do whatever you want. Islam doesn't work like that. وَلَا خَلْفِ امْرَأَةٍ. And it's also not permissible for a man to pray behind a woman. وَلَا خُنْثَ لِلرِّجَالِ. And it's not permissible for a hermaphrodite to lead the salat of men. Does that make sense?
Yes.
What about the kids in the house?
We can get there yet.
Now, another thing. You're saying praying behind the woman. You mean a woman leading the prayer?
Yes, a woman leading the prayer. I'm trying to think of another scenario. How a man would be praying behind a woman.
Well, she praying there, he praying there. Like standing, like it, that's why I said me and leading the prayer, like, because it could be, like, they in Ramadan in the house, she praying her, he praying his.
But generally, a man wouldn't pray behind a woman, generally. Unless, like, places like the Haram,
Right. But
in Mecca, Medina, that's different. Yeah, that's different. Now, وَلَا صَبِيًّا لِبَالِغٍ. It is also not permissible for a child that has not reached the age of puberty to lead adults in obligatory prayers. Pay attention to that. It is not permissible for a child that has not reached the age of puberty to lead adults in obligatory prayer. Question. Can a child lead an adult in prayer that is not obligatory? Huh?
If they haven't reached
The age of puberty.
What you just said, it sound like it.
Yes. So, like, say, for example, we have a child that leads Tarawih. It may not be of the age of puberty, or he leads a Sunnah Salat, for example. They're praying Sunnah prayers. The child leads them in Qiyamul Layl. They're praying in the night prayer. Huh? In this case, it's permissible. In this case, it's permissible. And this is not my speech, Yaquan. This is the kalam of the scholars of the past. Now, follow.
And that,
Follow.
So right now, I'm looking at the age of my son. Being as though he reached puberty, he should lead my wife in the Salat in the house.
Your son?
Yeah.
Labut. If you're not home, absolutely. Well, unless he's with you in the masjid. If he's not with you in the masjid, he
I'm
needs to.
saying when I'm there, when I'm not there.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
now is it, what if he's not, is it permissible for him to follow?
Follow who?
In that situation, does he have, is it like obligatory for him to lead the Salat, for his son to lead, or?
Is it obligatory for him to lead the salah? If we go back to let's assume if you go back to the beginning chapter, it's called Salatul Jama'ah, right? So some of the ulama, or many of them mention that Salatul Jama'ah is wajib, obligatory. But then the ones that say it's not wajib, the argument is we have a hadith that says that Salatul Jama'ah is 27 times better than praying by yourself, right? So then, according to the school of Imam Ahmed, it's obligatory to pray in Jama'ah. So in this case, they say, يَنْعَقِدُ الْجَمَاعَ بِالْإِثْنَيْنِ. They say that a Jama'ah consists of even if you have two people. So in this case, they can establish the Jama'ah in the house. You get more reward for it. Am I saying it's haram that if he doesn't lead, that he's going to be punished by Allah? Allah. That's not my lane.
No, we're going to the part where we mentioned the woman should not lead the men, but we're talking about a child who's reached puberty.
A woman shouldn't lead him anyway in the salah. Period. Period.
Once they reach that age of puberty.
No, period. A woman shouldn't lead boys or men in the salah. Period. A woman, if she can pray with other women and lead them in the salah. But I've never seen a scenario where a woman leads a boy in the salah.
Not even a kid?
How?
I'm asking.
From the Baba, if it's from the aspect of tarbawiyya, like she's teaching them how to pray, that's something different. Like, this is how the salah goes, and that's different.
Okay.
But then the father should be doing that. The father should be doing that. And that's another issue.
What about the home therapy? That's what I'm asking.
Then the boys need to come to the masajid and be around men. I mean, this is a reality. This is a problem that we have in our communities now. There's not enough men around. طيب ولا أخرس ولا عاجز عن ركوع أو سجود أو قعود أو قيام. طيب. Al-Akhras is a person that can't read. So a person that can't read should not be leading the salah. That's obvious. A person that can't read should not be leading the salah. ولا عاجز عن ركوع. If a person cannot make ruku' in the salah, they should not be leading the salah. If a person cannot make sujood on the ground, then they should not be leading the salah. And likewise, if a person cannot sit They should not be leading the salat. And the person that can't stand should not be leading the salat. The only people that a person like that should lead in salat is people similar to them in their own situation. We're going to stop at that right here, and I'm going to talk about that for a minute. This issue here is important because, number one, there are people, for example, let's say, for example, a brother's injured. He's injured. He hurt his back. Is it permissible for him to lead the salat if he hurt his back and he can't bend all the way? In general, yes. Either if you're hoping that he's going to be cured, if you're hoping that eventually his back's going to get better, that's one thing. But let's say, for example, we have a brother in a wheelchair. For whatever the reason, maybe paralyzed or something, but he's not going to be able to, at least according to doctors, he may never be able to walk again. This is, all right, in this case, can this person lead the salat, or should he lead the salat of people that can stand? La. Why not? What if his recitation is better than everyone else? Why not? Because in
he can't perform pillars.
I said he can't perform the pillar of Qiyam. So if that person was the imam of a masjid leading the salah all the time, the whole community would be leaving off what? A pillar of the salah, every single salah. So in this case, this person shouldn't lead the salah unless he's leading the salah of people in similar situations to him. In any event, we're going to stop right here, and we're going to come back next week. We're going to come back and revisit this issue again in more detail. We're going to revisit this same issue right here again in more detail, inshallah. Any questions about what we covered thus far? Fadl. From the beginning?
No, I had it on the phone coming.
Okay.
You were speaking about Tashahhud.
Tashahhud?
Yeah,
What?
I think that was
Recap. I might have been, was you doing a recap?
I don't remember.
That first question.
Oh, his first question was his first question was about a person joining the salat late. And he said, how many tashahhuds, 3 tashahhuds, and so on and so forth. In this case, if a person joins the salat late, what's the question again? If a person,
I know the question, and I was waiting for you. My thing is, all right, so you join it late, right? Each time, for each tashahhud, right? All right, we know the first one. Say the first one, right? We come in and we do that one. We don't send salutations on the prophet and all that, the first one, right? So in the second one is, let's just say we're praying, well, it doesn't matter. So in the second one, we don't, do we send salutations upon the prophet or no?
Mumtaz, that's a good question.
Do we wait to the last one?
That's a good question. That's a good question. But here's the situation with that. When you send salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ, that's for the tashahhud al-akhir, the last tashahhud. So let's say, for example, you join Salatul Maghrib late. You missed the first rak'ah. That means in Salatul Maghrib, and you come in late, how many tashahhuds are you going to be doing? 3. But which one of those tashahhuds do you send salutations upon the Prophet ﷺ? The last one. Why? Because this is a pillar in the salat, and it's called the tashahhud al-akhir, meaning the last tashahhud. So this is a requirement in order for your salat to be accepted. This is a requirement in order for your salat to be accepted. Now, any other questions?
Now, since you have another rak'ah to make, do you wait until they taslim, or because yours is going to be shorter than theirs? That's what I'm saying. You wait until they taslim and then you stand up.
I'm forget. Say that again.
Like, on your second tashahhud, you're not going to send salutations upon
That's only for the last one.
So in essence, yours
it's going to be similar to the first
one.
one.
Be a little shorter than those.
Yeah.
So do you just sit and wait until they taslim and then you finish out?
But another issue about reading, because we mentioned about a person that can't read cannot lead the salat. But let's say, for example, a person, when we say reading here, we're talking about not like reading a book. We're not talking about reading a book. We're talking about a person that's akhlas, meaning they can't speak. You can't speak. How can you lead the salat? For example, salat al-maghrib, salat al-isha, salat al-fajr. You can't lead the salat because you're unable to speak. Well, there. Any other questions, y'all?
You said it's a person that's considered that can't read. It's a person that can't speak. That's what you said?
Say that again.
You said the person that can't read. That's what you said, right?
Mhm.
You said this is a person that's meant that.
Okay, so when you say read, let me qira'ah here, the word qira'ah means reading, but as it relates to the salat, if a person's standing up leading the salat, they say his qira'ah, his recitation. Here, it's talking about he's unable to recite, period. He can't speak at all. Not like read a book, but we're talking about recitation. A question. Any other questions? We're done? I see you typing. Huh?
My notes. You gonna be the choke.
Who, me? Oh.
Sisters have any questions?
No.
طيب. Here's another question. Somebody did send a question. If you're praying and you have to leave the salat. Let's say, for example, I think we covered this before. Let's say we're praying Salat al-Isha, and you're leading the salat. And people tired, man. You start reciting Al-Baqarah, right? From beginning, you're just going. You're not even trying to stop, right? People in this, people got to go to work in the morning, especially during the summertime when Isha gets later and later. So somebody said, you know what? I can't do it. So he leaves off the salat. He makes his intention to separate from the salat and prays Isha on his own and leaves. This is permissible. This is permissible in Islam.
What's that again?
Let's say, for example, he's leading the salat. And he's long, like he's going long. And you got to work in the morning. You want to get your prayer in so you can go home. And you're tired, your back hurt, your feet hurt. You can make your intention. It's called make your niyyah and yanfarad min as-salat. You can make your intention that you separate from the congregation. You can finish your salat and go home. This was done by some of the Sahaba during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And then they went to complain to the Messenger of Allah ﷺ about the people as women and children and people standing in the salat and making it difficult on the people. And the Prophet ﷺ asked him, was he a fitna? Were you trying to make a fitna for the Muslims? Right?
Now, I don't want to get long-winded on this, but it just seems like that could possibly bring about a bunch of issues.
Like what?
For instance, if you on the front row, in the ranks, and you up front, and you got people behind you, how you gonna slide out of the ranks? And you got people inside you, behind you. Like
easy, slide forward. You can come forward, you can slide off to the side, you can go in the back. You know it's permissible to walk between people when you're praying, right?
No.
Sideways.
Yeah, I mean you can just you can slide through. You know you can do that, right? The only person you can't. Sure.
A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, I'm about to tell you. The only person, when you're praying in Jama'ah, the only person you can't walk in front of is the Imam. Anyone else, you can walk in front of them in the ranks.
I mean, if you don't know, you gotta ask.
No doubt, Sheikh.
Question.
No.
You saying you're leading Salat, we're in the ranks.
Mhm.
Somebody can walk right past.
Right in front of you.
And
Absolutely. Doesn't affect your salah. No.
Now see, this is a question.
But why doesn't it affect your salah? Because you're not the Imam. The Imam is in the front, and as long as someone doesn't get in front of him.
Okay.
No.
All right, say for instance, you have to use the bathroom and y'all,
Who has to use the bathroom? The Imam or the person in the ranks? So you drop out the ranks, go to the bathroom, come make wudu and join the salah.
That ain't the question. The question is when you come back.
Start all over again.
That's all.
You can't pick up where you left
That's all I
off.
wanted to say.
Same thing when you have
That's all I
ranks. You
wanted.
make the intent.
I mean, even though I
Intent
knew
to
it,
separate from the ranks.
Somebody asked that question.
No, you don't have. It depends. It depends on the type of movement you make. If you make the type of movement that would, and so the way it works is this: when we started covering the book of Salat, we went through all of these different things that will break your Salat. Remember we mentioned in the past that if a person makes excessive movement, then it could break your Salat. Right? So let's say, for example, you're in your Salat and you want to make it, but you turn around, you walk around, walk back, and you broke your Salat. Why? Because your movement, no one will believe that you're in Salat. But if you took some steps forward, some steps to the side, without turning your body, without moving excessively, then inshallah, you're still in the Salah, inshallah. Now, khalas, we done?
Somebody said they're confused about the person can't read, not reading the salah online.
Yeah, I think we just talked about that. Somebody online asked?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Same question you answered.
Are they still confused about it?
It's confused about what you meant by.
Are they still confused about it now?
That's what the sister said.
Sound confused. Huh? They still confused? Like, so, yeah, so basically the one, when we said here about the one, wala akhras. Akhras is a person that is not able to recite Quran. A person that is not able to recite Quran cannot lead the salah. Why can't that person lead the salah? No, it's not about hearing. You can't recite. From the pillars of the salah is what? Al-Fatiha. If you cannot recite Al-Fatiha, that's salah. There's no salah for the one لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. There's no salah for the one that does not recite Al-Fatiha. So if you can't recite Al-Fatiha, then you have no salah. And the thing is, the reason why we're stopping now, because there are parts to this that are quite extensive that we need to talk about in detail. There's going to be a lot of questions about who can lead the salah in terms of recitation, what it sounds like. Certain people that cannot recite Al-Fatiha, their salah is null and void. So a question may be, well, who fits into that category? So we're going to talk about that in the next class, inshallah ta'ala. Any other questions?
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
When the, if you have to go to the bathroom when you in the salah, do you test things out? This is one of the questions.
No, you can just fall out of the salah. There's no, you don't have to make taslim and leave the rank. You just leave the rank. Allah knows best.
Another question. What about walking in front of someone right after the salah? Is right after the salah if someone is making up a rak'ah?
If you're walking in front of that person,
Like after the Jumu'ah and someone has to make up a rak'ah, you know, everybody.
you shouldn't walk in front of them. They should try to put their arm out to block that person from walking in front of them. Because now their sutra is not the imam anymore. The imam is not leading the salat, so now you have to have your own sutra. And even with regards to sutra, the scholars of the past, do I want to go into that right now? Not yet? Like, we'll wait till another class to talk about the sutra as well. Some people may be surprised to know the majority position with regards to sutra. So somebody must say, well, brother, why would you even mention that? Well, it's important to mention because when you mention these types of issues, it will cause a person to not speak about issues that you don't know about. You'll be surprised to know many scholars that we all know today, they don't use a sutra when they're praying. And some of them do. I mean, if you see a brother praying right now, a person's going to go out of his way and put something in front of him. Labas, it's cool. But you have some people that want to do it, and the one that's praying, they might not want that in front of them. And then you're going to say, this person's an innovator? Oh, he's an innovator. Well, we find that the majority of the Salaf didn't consider the sutra to be wajib. Majority of the Salaf, meaning the scholars of the past, didn't even consider a sutra to be wajib, something that's obligatory. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm saying that it's important to understand these differences. That way we don't open our mouths in issues that we don't know about. That's the whole purpose. That we all stay in our lanes now.
They differ with the sutra, but they don't differ about the person crossing in front of the person when they have a sutra.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about sutra. If a person walks in front, you should stop them. You should stop them. No. But any other questions, Yahwan? Khalas. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. See, Shay, Shay.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah, I got 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not all good.
We're getting late.
I'm tired, man.
Sound like an old man.
You gonna stop? Can you stop
Is
this?
it?
Oh, my man, that's late, man.